So, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel where we bring you valuable insights and resources for seniors and their families. Today, we have the pleasure of introducing Carrie Thomas. She is the Executive Director of Lifespan Atlanta. I had the opportunity to meet Carrie at the Cobb Senior Expo, and I was truly intrigued by the incredible work that Lifespan Atlanta is doing to bridge generations and combat social isolation among adults. So please join me in welcoming Carrie Thomas as we dive into the mission, vision, and successes of Lifespan Atlanta. So, Carrie, welcome. And we'll
Thank you.
just start off with you telling us a little bit about you and how you got into this work.
Oh, absolutely. And Sonia, thank you for having me. I'm passionate about my work, as a lot of people, and I think this is just a great opportunity to share this and kind of I'm building awareness now of this program, so I just really appreciate the opportunity. Um, but yeah, so I basically came into this after a 30-year corporate career, not a degree, corporate career. I had always volunteered with older adults. I have a lot of older adult relatives. Really have a passion for older adults, and so much that in the earlier chapter of my life, in my corporate chapter, I had an opportunity to write end of life stories for hospice for 7 years. And that sounds like it would be really painful, but honestly, it was so inspiring and so rewarding. And it made me think, you know what, I saw a lot of lonely people. And I just felt like a lot of people didn't even have family. I mean, they were kind of dying alone. And it made me feel like, there's just a need for companionship, social um, stimulation, friendship connection with older adults. And I just really was drawn to the field of aging from some of my own personal experiences. So I took the plunge, and I thought, well, gosh, after working in commercial real estate and some other corporate positions for so many years, didn't think I could just snap my fingers and all of a sudden be an aging expert or work with seniors in a paid sense, if you will. So I said, I'm going to go back to school. It was always on my bucket list to get a master's degree in something. I didn't know what. And it just, I really felt like this was more of a calling than anything else. Put myself back through school at night while I worked full time in corporate. And 3 years later, I got a master's in gerontology from Georgia State. And I can't say enough about the program I went through. It was wonderful. But anyway, and then I've just started jumping in, looking for where I could, pivot my career and find an opportunity where I could kind of live out some of the passions that I'd been dreaming about for a long time. And I was invited to be on the board of directors of Lifespan Resources. I should clarify, Lifespan Resources is the official legal entity name of this
Right.
organization. Lifespan Intergenerational is our newest program that we facilitate under the umbrella of Lifespan Resources. But I had an opportunity. I knew some people in the industry that said they were looking for a board member. I had some nonprofit board background. And one of the first things they had me do was facilitate an online life story workshop. And really, literally, like pulling people, seniors together to talk about their life stories. And it was going to be a new program that, I had told them I was comfortable trying. It went so well. I have naysayers in this space that say that older adults are never going to form connections or have enjoyment online. And
Yeah.
I'm here to say that that's not true. I've seen the screens come alive. And so, yeah, that's how I got into it. And how I got the executive director of the current position is that the former ED announced her retirement about a year and a half ago. And there were 8 or 9 of us on the board, and we just didn't know, what are we going to do next? And I just raised my hand and said, I have a couple things that have resonated with me when I got my master's, I would love to implement. And one was intergenerational programs, the benefits thereof, and how can we pull generations together under this lifespan umbrella. And secondly, how can we help alleviate loneliness and social isolation
Mhm.
and help older adults literally feel less invisible and more seen and heard?
Yes.
So that's what we're doing now. So the former executive director wished me the best, kind of passed over the baton and the reins, and I've had a super supportive board, just allowing me a platform to really execute my passions to help people. So,
Wow. I, just listening to that, I mean, it sounds quirky, but that just made my heart warm. I mean, that your story is a great one. I definitely believe people that work in the senior industry, that for most people, it really is, it's a ministry, it's a passion. It really is hard work. And I know now is not the time, but I really do want to hear more about your story with working with hospice and putting the stories together. That sounds
yeah.
really, really interesting, but we'll stay on task for now.
Sure.
So tell me, and which you touched on this, so just tell me more about the mission and the vision of Lifespan Atlanta.
Yeah, so the mission is really twofold, Sonia. It is first in part bridging generations. Our thought at Lifespan is to increase understanding and empathy between young and old and break down stereotypes and provide a platform in which that can be done. Share wisdom, share experiences, share stories. So the first part is helping bridge the generation gap. So we believe then we build better communities by doing that. Second part of the mission is combating loneliness and social isolation. And interestingly, people think, especially because I have a master's in gerontology and this program serves older adults, they think, well, when I say combat loneliness and isolation, I'm only talking about the older adults. But the truth is, there are a lot of lonely young people too. And, ironically, I say we use tech to connect, but sometimes tech, and I believe that we execute a positive view of using tech to connect. But I think most of us know also that if we stay at home and sit on our phones and just peruse social media sites night after night, day after day, we're going to get isolated. So that's where it's kind of the love-hate relationship with tech. But I think there's so much research and studies that show that the young people are lonely too. So that's our mission. Vision is to continue to reach people we haven't reached yet. And not just in Atlanta. I mean, we're in Atlanta and we have this program churning now and going well, but eventually the beauty of being online, as you know, is that it does not have geographical limitations. So as we are now perfecting this program in Atlanta, we want to expand it, break down the geographical walls. I do have a person right now in one of our summer programs who's dials in or signs on on Zoom from Charleston, South Carolina. I had someone from North Carolina, someone that just was in Atlanta and moved to live with her daughter in Ohio. So she still joins our alumni program. So, there's no reason why they can't. So our vision long-term is not only to expand geographically, but reach underserved communities. This is another personal passion of mine that my board is joining with me on. And, it's one thing to wake up in the morning and have all this equipment. We have a laptop, we take it for granted at some point. We have a smartphone, we have an iPad. I mean, how much tech? There are people that don't have that equipment. And so they're getting more and more isolated and lonely. Or, I mean, truthfully, we can't bring them the program if they don't have equipment.
Right.
So they might have broadband. I think that our policymakers have done, especially in Georgia, have done a good job in advocating for broadband across the state. But if people don't have the money to buy the equipment, the devices, then how can they access or use the broadband anyway?
Right.
So
right.
that's my vision, is to really fundraise for the purpose of reaching some of these people, older adults that don't have it. And we can help provide tablets. I'm not big on smartphones for this program simply because people do dial on and sign on with their phones, but it's a small screen.
Right.
And a
Mhm.
lot of these people are struggling to see as they're getting older. And so the bigger the screen, the better.
The better, the better.
Mhm.
So tell me, what does the process look like? You pair a senior, or you pair an adult with a college student, or how does someone become a participant in the program on either side?
Yeah, good question. Well, first of all, what we're aiming to do is form online community groups. So this is group setting. This isn't one-on-one.
Okay.
So our typical intergenerational session runs 8 weeks, just an hour a week. So it's something that an older adult and a younger adult can have on their calendar every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. For 8 weeks, we're going to meet for structured content and getting to know you time. But we start in groups of usually 2 to 1. So it typically is 3 to 4 students and 6 to 8 older adults. That's really our sweet spot. I've experimented with a little bit smaller groups, a little bit bigger groups, but if they get too big, they lose their intimacy and the warmth that you can have with the smaller size. And if they're too small, I've gotten feedback in surveys that there's a little bit too much pressure, feel like too much pressure that, oh my gosh, I have to keep saying something. I can't just listen today. Or, I'm not so sure I like my story, but I like to hear other people's stories. So that tends to be our sweet spot. Recruiting is a huge part of my role, as well as my board of directors helps. Partnering with Georgia State University, their schools of social work, gerontology. Students who typically would participate in our program are studying fields that will put them working with older adults. So they have a vested interest to learn how to become more comfortable with them. Some of the students are just volunteers. They've heard about the program, or they've come across it through word of mouth or from my seminars. But others actually get internship credit and practicum credit. So it's kind of a twofold on the students. I shouldn't say did, we're still going. In my summer sessions right now, I know, what day is it? In my summer sessions right now, I have a biology student who plays beach volleyball. I have a finance student who is back home living mom and dad in Atlanta, but goes to Howard University in DC.
Okay.
And so she's in the program. I have a woman who's a non-traditional older student has a couple kids, and she's probably in her late 30s, but she is studying nursing and works for the Georgia Department of Health. But she's a student. She wants to get more. So not all of the students are 18 to 25. I mean, some of them are what I call non-traditional students or older students, because those are the students you're going to see getting a subsequent degree or a secondary degree.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how we get students. The older adults, it's really a myriad of ways of recruiting older adults. I partner with home care companies, churches. I haven't gotten any older adults this way, but I'm wanting to target senior centers for people who no longer can get to the senior center. Like, what happens when they become immobile, or they can't drive? So I want to go to the heads of these senior centers and say, can you give me people that you don't see anymore? That's who we want to find, and try to find them and prevent them from being too isolated. So yeah, there's different ways to find seniors. I also, like you and I met at the Cobb County Expo. Those are good places. I have a participant in the summer program from the Cobb County Expo right now. And I do a lot of speaking at aging industry events, a lot of the aging networking kind of groups.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. So are there any success stories or impactful moments that you've witnessed that you would like to share? I'd love to hear something.
Yeah, well, yes, I have so many. I mean, it's I don't know where to start, but there's a couple favorites. I think it'd be simple to outline them or explain them using our informal tagline. So first of all, our formal tagline for Lifespan Intergeneration is intergenerational, is building bridging generations for better communities. That's our formal tagline. It's part of our logo. You can see it all over our website. Our informal tagline is, and I say it every time we start, what are we here for today? We're going to connect, laugh, and learn. So our mission within all of our little groups, our informal fun mission, and what we're really doing is connecting, laughing, and learning together. And so in sharing some of these stories, I like to say, okay, let's pull a nugget from a connection. Let's take one of those each of those words and have a story. So connection, everybody expects to meet random people, strangers, right? And then over 8 weeks, cultivate these relationships. So one of my sessions, I had a young girl, a student in social work. We go around, we do an icebreaker. We say our name, where we're from, icebreaker. She was from the same small town in Middle Georgia that one of our older adult participants was from. They knew the same people. And they were just like, they just immediately lit up. Like, you're from there, you're from there. And they knew some of the same family names. And so then in subsequent meetings, they would log on a little early. They would sign on a little early and talk about their hometown before the rest of us all joined. And so they really formed this beautiful connection. And of course they had something in common, and then, laughter is kind of through the whole thing. But I share this story. One of my older adults named Sam, 83 years old, he said to me after one of our sessions, he called me and he said, Carrie, do you mind if I run the program next week? Like just, throw out a question for the younger people. I said, sure. Yeah, I'd love to get the people all involved, not just me all the time facilitating.
Right.
And he said to the younger students, I think we had 5 on the screen at the time, what would you do with your time if you didn't have access to technology? Which was kind of funny because we're using technology to connect, remember? But one of the students covered her mouth, she screamed, and she said, oh my God, I wouldn't know how to get anywhere. And she immediately went to her, and everyone, the whole screen erupted in laughter. She said, I don't know how to get around without my GPS, my Waze, my Google Maps, telling me. And it went into this whole thing of how, if Google Maps told you to take a right and it was a lake, would you drive into the lake? And she said, yeah, I probably would. And so we had this whole laughter over that. And so that was just kind of fun. And then another example of learning, I guess I'd say, is one of my 92-year-olds. He wanted to lead a trivia hour. And so he did that, and he threw out a bunch of it was geography, and tried to stump these kids, and they were in competition, and he had a whole box of candy that he had gotten, I think, on a trip to Korea or something. And he said he would make sure he got it. I made sure I got it to the winner. So it was, a little bit of learning. I mean, they really did learn a lot, and we learn, honestly, the best learning we have, Sonia, is shared wisdom, learning from the older adults. They've walked so many more miles than these younger students, and they tell them about, like, one of them says, how do you handle a hard time? How do you get through hard times? And so not all of it's real light. I mean, sometimes we'll venture to a topic that might be a little heavier, but boy, do they really absorb some of the wisdom from the older adults on those topics, like resilience and how to get through rough spots in your life and peaks and valleys. And so it's really great. And the last thing I wanted to share, and I know I don't want to go too long on time, but it just happened recently. So I hope you'll let me share it. Will you allow me to share one more?
Absolutely, please.
Another one was I asked for one of our students, master students, because I try to get the students involved in facilitating. And I asked her to present her capstone, like her thesis for her graduate degree. And she has a passion for, and is on the board of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So she presented all her facts on loneliness, social isolation, and even suicide. How it can lead, those things, if left unattended, can lead to suicide. And this was in our alumni group, so they knew each other really well. And this is a really good example of when you feel you're in a safe space, a safe environment, non-judgment free, which is what we have in that alumni group. This gentleman raised his hand. We know him well. And he said, you know what? I want to share something that's news for me. And she said, sure. Everybody listened. And he said, I'm not suicidal by any means, but boy, am I lonely and isolated. And he said, it's because he said, I have a loving family. I'm not suicidal. I don't want you to panic or anything. But he said, I recently was diagnosed with early Alzheimer's. And I don't know if it's real early, but I think he's somewhere in his early 70s. And he said, I'm really adjusting to that. They told me I can't drive anymore. And I'm really already feeling the like kind of the walls cave in on me. And he said, I really, really count on this program as something that I can go to my computer, go to my office and see people and talk to people. So that's really what we're all about. And the most beautiful part was that all of them said, Bill, we'll be in touch with you. We'll call you. We're going to stay in touch. If you need rides somewhere. And sure enough, like 6 of them called me afterwards and said, they all exchanged numbers in our chat and they started checking on them. They're checking on them now regularly. So we're like a family. So
wow. That makes it all worthwhile. Those kind of stories, because they let you know that your mission really is being accomplished. That's very heartwarming. And people often think about loneliness as someone who doesn't have family, but this is someone who does. They have family, but they're still lonely.
Yeah.
So
For
the
sure.
benefit of this program. So tell us about the difference between the alumni program.
Oh, yeah. So there's really, right now we're running 2 programs at Lifespan. One's the intergenerational 8-week I just told you about. And then after that, our thought when I developed the program originally, my thought was, well, okay, that's great. We connect people for 8 weeks. They get to know each other. Then we drop them. They go back to being lonely.
Being lonely.
Yeah, so we didn't want that. So the alumni program was created as a way to have a space for people still to stay connected. So we offer Tuesdays and Fridays twice a week. Actually, I make it very easy for people to access. I have a link on our website, and also I email it to them also. But it's a secure site, and Zoom room, I should call it. And so Tuesdays is just Shirley Social. And believe it or not, it is facilitated by an 86-year-old woman. She comes up with the topic of the week every Tuesday morning. And it's a universal topic. They might talk about hobbies. They may talk about some of their favorite childhood memories or holidays or volunteer experiences. They talk about everything. And Friday afternoons, I facilitate. That's the second opportunity for alumni to come together. And these are all optional, but they're standing meetings. And in the afternoon at 1:00, I facilitate 3 out of the 4 Fridays of the month. I bring in a speaker, an outside speaker, to give educational content to them, not just hear me speak every Friday, or they get their social mostly out of the Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday is like, okay, now it's more the learning again, that we're connecting, but we're still learning. So I've brought in a director from the American Heart Association. I brought her in last February for American Heart Month, and she shared heart healthy tips. We've had cybersecurity experts, fraud scam alert experts come in and talk to us. I had the Cobb County Commissioner come in and talk about, she had a real expertise in cybersecurity. So she shared some information. I have financial planners, medical experts, home modification experts. And they really volunteer their time for us. I mean, we're a nonprofit. So yeah, so that program is that the first Friday of every month is called First Friday Movies, and it's a movie club. So we've all watched a movie before we've gotten there. So it's all kinds of stuff.
So watch the movie before you go, and then discuss the movie.
Yeah.
That night. Oh, okay.
Exactly. And actually one of the alumni actually is a huge passionate movie buff, and she prepares all the questions for that every week or every month as well. So yeah.
Wow.
I try to be, that's the other thing is, giving these older adults and younger adults purpose by being part of it, not just sitting there and waiting to be called on, or, I don't pressure anyone to do that, but if they're interested and I see there's a passion, I pull them aside kind of and say, hey, would you want to lead this next week? Or would you want to? So both students and older adults get involved. And I think that's really enhances purpose for the older adults and leadership skills for the younger adults. Yeah.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. So for the community, so for if people want to get involved with Lifespan, whether that's through participation or support, how can they do that? Because you mentioned you are a nonprofit, so I'm sure support
Yeah.
is important.
Yes. There's definitely, we have a donation section on our website. We have a QR code that we put on our materials. Yeah, like every other nonprofit. I mean, we can't grow without funding. I have a couple board members who are working on a fundraising kind of pitch deck, if you will, to take to corporations and say, because that's where hopefully we can really make a difference by show them we're making a difference and really pull in some extra funding to expand. I mean, I guess there's two ways. One, if someone wanted to volunteer in the program, I mean, I do get student volunteers, and that's so helpful.
Mhm.
But if I have other people that want to come in and talk about just what I was saying with the alumni program, talk about their expertise, like what
Yes.
do they do for seniors that they can, it helps that, someone like, say, yourself, it helps somebody like yourself to get your word out and show what you do for seniors in your business. And then it also helps them because obviously they're being made aware of all these resources for them. So
Right.
that's a great way for professionals to get involved. And also, over time, and this is where, I think I kind of say this tongue in cheek, but none of us get rich running a nonprofit until maybe it's a real big nonprofit. But I think most nonprofit leaders know we're in this for our passion and for the heart of it.
Mhm.
And so, but I do need to, in order to expand and accomplish that vision we were talking about earlier, I will need to clone myself. I will need to get more facilitators, more people that can get out on the ground and recruit, build awareness, speak, with not just me doing all the speaking around town, but, I would like to replicate myself. Most days I'd love to replicate myself 6 or 7 times. So, but that requires funding. I mean, most people can't afford to work on no salary or
Right.
no pay. So we would have to build staff, and that requires funding.
Yes. Yep.
Mhm.
It does, but it is absolutely a very, very worthy cause. Like I said, when I met you at the Senior Expo, I was intrigued in learning, and we've spoken before, but even
Yeah.
just listening more and learning more in detail, it is absolutely a worthy cause. I can't wait to, share this video and put it out there for people to learn more about it and hopefully send support and send donations. So, and I know we said about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We're a little over, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So, and I know, so let me let you share the website
Yeah.
for Lifespan. So if anyone is interested, they're able to go to the website and learn more.
Yeah. So our website is lifespanatlanta.org, ORG. So it's very simple. Eventually, as we grow geographically, we'll have to change that and not just say Lifespan Atlanta, but for right
Right.
now, we are serving Atlanta seniors and proudly. And so it's a 40-year long history of being in Atlanta. So our website is still today lifespanatlanta.org.
Okay.
And the
Well,
phone number's on there and an email address and all information, detailed information, of course, about both the programs that we've been
okay.
speaking about.
Okay. And is there anything that you'd like to share that I didn't touch on in the questions, but just something that you may feel is important for people to know?
Yeah, I do. I keep this, and I apologize for looking down because I just want to get it right. I think it's important. I always like to define the two terms between loneliness and social isolation because it's so important. Um, loneliness, if you don't mind, I'll quick say, Loneliness is a subjective feeling of being alone, regardless of the amount of social contact, versus social isolation is the objective lack of social connection or interactions. And because I have aging parents in their 80s, and I know, the baby boomer population is a big population, and a lot of them have aging parents. There's just things to be looking for when they are interacting with their parents, just for signs to look for if they're acting out of their typical behavior, if they're detecting they're no longer doing the social outreach or activities they used to do. Why is that? They could be getting depressed or isolated. So just, I guess I always like to kind of put the whole loneliness and social isolation warning out there. The U.S. Surgeon General has declared loneliness the #1 health epidemic in our country for the last 2 or 3 years, 2 for sure. And so it's a real thing. It has detrimental health effects, and ultimately can lead to increased dementia, chance of dementia, heart disease, and stroke. So just kind of not to scare anyone, but just to let people know to really pay attention and be alert to those changes of behavior with older adults and younger adults and younger. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things in working with seniors that really struck me, was realizing that, the loneliness is one of the biggest cause of cognitive decline. So it's, it's just it's not as simple as, oh, they're lonely. Like I said, there are real health factors that are impacted by it.
Yeah, and I would encourage anyone to go out and read the U.S. Surgeon General's report, because he does put in the real statistics in there on, of actually, how detrimental this can be. But yeah, there's and on our website, on the homepage of our website, we have a few statistics too. So I encourage people just go look about isolation and loneliness out there.
Okay. I will definitely take a look myself. Well, Carrie, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing and just really educating us. And, I look forward to learning more and, being the best support that I can be for Lifespan Atlanta. Absolutely. So
I absolutely am grateful for this time with you, Sonia. Thank you for reaching out to me. And I'd love to have you join our alumni group sometime.
I would love to do that. Absolutely. I would love to do that. Definitely.
Great.
So,
Great.
All right. And that Carrie's information will also be in the description of the video. So I'll have the website information there so that you can contact or reach out easily.
Yes. Thank you. The more people, the better. We're wanting to grow.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Thank you, Sonia.